Mauricio Umansky spells how RHOBH changed ex Kyle Richards. Mauricio Umansky is spilling the tea on how RHOBH has changed his estranged wife, Kyle Richards. The two were married for nearly 30 years and raised 4 daughters together. Unfortunately, they split in July 2023 and are unable to reconcile. So what does the real estate mogul have to say about his ex and reality television fame? Keep reading for further details. Mauricio Umansky spells how RHOBH changed Kyle. For 12 seasons on RHOBH, Mauricio Umansky and Kyle Richards were a power couple. She supported him in his real estate endeavors, even if it meant losing her family. He initially was in business with her brother-in-law, Rick Hilton, when he got the opportunity to branch out on his own. It would likely jeopardize their relationship with Kyle's sister, Kathy Hilton, but she wanted what was best for Mauricio. He went on to excel in his career, and he watched her return to acting while opening a handful of boutiques while becoming a reality star. She is now the last OG standing on RHOBH and has been there for all 14 seasons. Admittedly, after the last 2 seasons, she did not know if she would come back. In season 13, Kyle and Mauricio shared the demise of their marriage. He has since moved out of their home and gotten his own place. Furthermore, he was involved with philanthropist Nikita Khan and is now having fun with model Claudia Kay. So when asked about Kyle and how she changed since joining the hit Bravo reality series, what did Mauricio have to say? According to Reality Blurb, Mauricio Umansky claims that Kyle Richards is the same person she always has been. He spilled this alongside co-star and close friend PK Kemsley on Bravo's Hot Mic podcast. As for whether or not he and Kyle had a chance at reconciliation, Mauricio was clear about where they stood. He maintained they are best friends, and that is all. Despite being separated, Kyle Richards and Mauricio Umansky reunited for the holidays in Aspen with their 4 girls. They enjoyed cooking and baking with Kyle, making a grand Christmas Eve dinner. She then woke everyone up on Christmas morning so they could open gifts together, and they looked extremely happy to keep the tradition alive. He had just been spotted in Aspen, dining and shopping with Claudia Kay, as it was alleged Kyle would be with her sisters for the holidays. However, her daughters documented their happiness on social media. Mauricio Umansky had always been a man who valued honesty and openness, traits that made him not only a successful real estate mogul, but also a beloved figure on The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. As the cameras rolled for over a decade, they captured moments of triumph, heartbreak, and resilience, often revealing more than anyone could have anticipated. Now, months after the seismic news of his separation from Kyle Richards became public, Mauricio sat down to discuss how the Bravo spotlight had irrevocably transformed their lives, and perhaps most significantly, Kyle herself. When we first joined the show, we didn't know what we were signing up for. Mauricio began, his voice steady but tinged with nostalgia. Kyle thought it would be fun, a way to share our lives with the world and connect with other women. But we quickly realized it's not just about showcasing your life. It's about dissecting it over and over again. Mauricio leaned back in his chair, his eyes briefly scanning the Los Angeles skyline from the window of his Beverly Hills office. The view was as stunning as ever, but it now felt like a backdrop to a life he barely recognized. Kyle was always a strong woman. She's ambitious, she's talented, and she's an incredible mother. But the show, it amplifies everything. The good, the bad, and the things you'd rather keep hidden. It's like holding a magnifying glass to your soul. And for Kyle, I think it forced her to confront parts of herself she didn't even know were there. Mauricio's words were reflective, not accusatory. He spoke of Kyle with admiration, even as he admitted that the show had changed her. In the beginning, Kyle was all about protecting our family. She was the glue that held everything together. But as the seasons went on, she started to evolve in ways I didn't expect. And honestly, I don't think she expected it either. The turning point, Mauricio revealed, came during the show's earlier seasons when Kyle's relationships with her sisters, Kim Richards and Kathy Hilton, became a central storyline. Family dynamics are complicated enough without millions of people weighing in, he said, shaking his head. The show brought a lot of old wounds to the surface for Kyle. It's one thing to have a disagreement in private. It's another to have it play out on national television. It changes you. It hardens you in some ways and softens you in others. Mauricio paused, his hands clasped together as if he were trying to hold on to something intangible. Kyle became more guarded, more cautious. At the same time, she also became more independent. She started to find her voice, not just as a wife or a mother, but as a person. And while I'm proud of her for that, it also created distance between us. We were growing in different directions, and I don't think either of us knew how to stop it. For Mauricio, the hardest part was watching the public's perception of Kyle shift. People forget that the Kyle they see on TV is only one part of her. They don't see the Kyle who stays up late worrying about our daughters, or the Kyle who works tirelessly to make our house a home. The show made her a symbol, a brand, and in some ways, she had to live up to that. It's a lot of pressure. Despite the challenges, Mauricio was quick to acknowledge the positives the show had brought into their lives. RHOBH gave Kyle a platform to pursue her passions, whether it was acting, fashion, or even writing a book. It also gave us opportunities we never would have had otherwise. But everything comes at a cost. That cost, Mauricio admitted, was their marriage. We didn't split because of the show, he clarified. But the show was like a mirror, reflecting back all the things we didn't want to see. It forced us to confront issues we might have ignored otherwise. And sometimes when you take a hard look at something, you realize it's not what you thought it was. Mauricio's voice softened as he spoke about their separation. Kyle and I will always have love for each other. She's the mother of my children, and we've shared a beautiful life together. But we're also human. We've made mistakes, and we're still figuring out what comes next. When asked if he had any regrets, Mauricio was candid. I regret not communicating better, not being more present. But I also know that Kyle and I both did the best we could with what we had. The show didn't create our problems, but it did make them impossible to ignore. As for Kyle, Mauricio said he was proud of the woman she had become. She's stronger than ever. She's learned to stand up for herself in ways she never did before. And while that's been hard for me to watch sometimes, I know it's been important for her growth. Mauricio's reflections were a mix of sorrow and hope, a testament to the complexities of love and the challenges of living life under the glare of reality TV. At the end of the day, we're just two people trying to navigate this crazy world. The show was a chapter in our story, but it's not the whole story. As the interview wrapped up, Mauricio offered a final thought. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that change is inevitable. It's how you handle it that defines you. Kyle and I are still figuring out what that means for us. But no matter what, I'll always be grateful for the life we've built and the lessons we've learned. In the end, Mauricio's words painted a picture of a man who had loved deeply, lost profoundly, and grown immeasurably. His journey, like Kyle's, was far from over. But for now, he was content to take it one day at a time, hopeful for the future and grateful for the past.